I am very excited that we have a special speaker. You're going to hear a great message. You're going to leave encouraged today. So would you give some appreciation to Neil Hoffman, who's going to bring the word today.
Hey guys, good morning. How many of you guys like the rain? You're not real San Diegans then. Walked all the way from my car to the rain, in the rain. I want to start off real quick tonight's message this morning's message with telling a story. Do we have any teachers in here? Yes, good, excellent. A lot of teachers go to church, spread your word at school. That's not what the story was. I want to tell a story about a teacher named Mrs. Thompson. She was a 5th grade teacher, and like all teachers, even though they may say they don't have their favorites, they have their favorites. Miss Thompson had her favorites, and she also had the ones that definitely were not on her favorite list. One of those kids was a kid named Teddy Stallard, and Miss Thompson actually didn't take a good liking to Teddy, rightfully because of the way Teddy presented himself. He had a deadpan face expression all the time. Every time he was asked a question, he would just shrug his shoulders, never really participate in anything. And subconsciously, Miss Thompson actually decided that she was going to give Teddy about as much as he gave her. She was going to put in about as much as he put in. And so you can imagine how the first part of Teddy's 5th grade class, how it went. Didn't go that well. The school, though, had a rule that during the first semester, every teacher had to look at the records of every single kid during that first time. So when she finally got to Teddy's record, she read something that changed her mind about Teddy. She watched as she read the records from kindergarten to 1st grade, said that Teddy was a good student, that he did really well, pleasant to be around and focus on schoolwork. And then she watched as the 2nd and 3rd grade teachers said something similar, but something changed. It said that Teddy's mom got a terminal disease. Teddy's slowing down. He's not paying attention as much. 3rd grade, his mom died, passed away. 4th grade, it changed. It says Teddy's slow. You can't get anything out of him. He basically sits in his seat. He's still well behaved, though. Here she has him for 5th grade. How many of you guys think that her idea about him changed a little bit? She decided that she was going to change her attitude. And Christmas was 2 weeks later, and so all the kids brought Christmas presents. That's why we really know you guys want to be teachers. They brought their Christmas presents. And when she was opening up Teddy's Christmas presents, all the kids began to laugh at her because inside of his present was an old rhinestone bracelet with some of the rhinestones missing and a bottle of perfume that was half empty. She quickly shushed the kids' laughs, sprayed the perfume on, talked about how beautiful she smelled and looked, and kept going on with the other kids' presents. At the end of class that day, Teddy stayed around later than everybody else. And he walked up to her and he says, Mrs. Thompson, you smell so pretty, just like my mom smelled. And you look just as pretty in that bracelet as she did. She said that she has never seen a smile that big on Teddy's face as he walked outside of that class. She fell on her feet right there and cried. She decided at that moment, I'm no longer simply going to teach English and science and math. From now on, I'm going to teach children. And that changed her class for that year. In fact, that changed Teddy that year because at the end of that year, she had to write a file on Teddy, and this time, it changed. You saw this progression of what was going on. This time she wrote, Teddy is a bright kid. He's learned a lot this year, and he's passed up many of the kids in his class. Teddy has a bright future. Pretty impressive, isn't it? 4 years, she hasn't seen him. 5 years later, she gets a letter from Teddy Stallard. It says, Dear Miss Thompson, I wanted you to know that I've graduated high school with honors, and you have been my best teacher. Said, I remember the things that you taught me in 5th grade, that my circumstances don't need to change who I am. 4 years later, nothing. 4 years later, she gets another letter for him saying, Mrs. Thompson, I want you to know that I've just graduated college. The university has not been easy, but I remember what you taught me. Work hard. Don't let the things around me change who I am and what I do. 2 years later, she gets another one. It says, Miss Thompson, this year has been both a hard year and a great year. I lost my father this year. You're the only family I have. I met a girl, however, and we're going to get married, and I want you to sit on my side as my family. Isn't that a powerful story? A powerful story of what a teacher can do inside the life of a kid. But it doesn't have to be a teacher. It's a powerful story of what every single one of us can be for other people. We need Miss Thompson in our life. Miss Thompson took him off a path of where he was going and put him on a brand new path with a good future, with a good hope because of what she said. You know, what I want to talk about this morning is not anything that none of us have heard. We've all heard of this. We all know about this. I'm not going to bring some brilliant thought, but I believe this. I believe that if taken inside what we're going to talk about this morning, it would be the most powerful message I've ever given from this stage. I want to talk about the power of encouragement. Mrs. Thompson was a great encourager. Miss Thompson took Teddy out from where he should be and put him on a brand new path with one thing, the power of encouragement. And I started thinking, who are the encouragers? Who has influenced my life the most? And I started thinking about people, and you can think about the people who have influenced your life the most right now. Think about them, but for me, it's my mom and my dad. It's John Hoffman as I grew up in his youth ministry. It's Danny Stuckey. It's Jeremy Miller. It's my wife, Heather. Those are the people that have influenced my life the most. Can I tell you something interesting about every single one of those? They are also the people who have encouraged my life the most. See, there is a great power that comes when people start encouraging other people. It gives a brand new sense of what we can do. There's this quote that I'd like to read right now by Sir William Arthur Ward. I want you to pay attention to this quote because this is an amazing quote. This is amazing thought right here. He says, flatter me, and I may not believe you. Criticize me, and I may not like you. Ignore me, and I may not forgive you. Encourage me, and I will not forget you. You know, the truth is, all those people that have encouraged me in the past, I remember the things they say because they've pulled potential out of me. Let's look at what the Bible says. You think that's an important thing to do from the stage during Sunday? Look at what the Bible says about encouragement. I want to look at 2 Corinthians 1:3, and I want to see what God says about encouragement. I want to look at something that has really, as I've been doing this study on encouragement, has changed my idea of what God calls me to be an encourager. So we're going to read this. It says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort." Now that word comfort right there, when you translate it from the Greek, that word is more often translated encourager than it is comforter. I'm going to talk about that from the word of encouragement. And I want you guys to look at something right there. God does something with that word encouragement. God does something with it. He says, he doesn't say the God who gives encouragement, does he? Is that what it says? The God who gives all comfort? It doesn't say the God who just sometimes gives it or can give it or likes it and enjoys it. He attaches his name to it. That word comfort right there in Greek is also word encouragement. We're just translating it right now. He attaches his name to the word encouragement. He says, I am the God of all encouragement. I absolutely consume it. We can pray, say, God of encouragement. Everybody would know who I was talking about. If I said God of happiness, would you guys know what God I'm talking about? No, because he doesn't attach his name to that. But right here, he attaches his name. He says, not only am I God who gives it, I am the God of all of it. It's part of who I am. It's engulfed in my name. This is who I've become. And you know that as Jesus was here on earth, or God as he speaks to the Bible, so often when he wanted to bring someone out of where they were and do something different, he didn't always give them a kick or a point, pointing their finger and criticizing them. What did he do? He encouraged them onto a different path, didn't he? That is what he does. He is the God of all encouragement. Now let's remember that thought real quick. as we turn to Romans 15:5. God of encouragement. He's attached encouragement to his name. Now we read in Romans 15:5, now may the God who gives perseverance and encouragement grant you to be of the what? Of the same mind with one another according to Christ Jesus. He's talking about encouragement there. And he says, I want you to be of the same mind. And this is important. He says, because he's not just the God that gives encouragement. He does so much more. He's the God of encouragement. He's tied it to his name and he says, Neil, I want you to be of the same mind. That's powerful because that means God's calling out of me something more than just be someone who enjoys encouragement, likes it when I get it, or just someone who thinks that I can give it every once in a while as I feel need. He calls me to be something much better, the God of it. What he does not call me to be is, let's get that first slide up. As he calls up to be of the same mind, what he's saying, he's not asking me to be Neil who needs encouragement. We have enough people who just walk around wanting encouragement, don't we? Brian Regan, a comedian, calls them me monsters. It's all about me, me. People who walk around just saying, what do I get? What do I need? Where can you give it to me? Feed into my life. It's all about me. God has not called me. See, he's not asked me to be Neil who needs encouragement. That's not where my place is. Hopefully I get it, but it's not my place. He also does not call us to be Neil who can give, fill in your name right there, who can give encouragement, can give. There's lots of things I can do. I can eat a tomato. I'm not going to. There's lots of things I can do. God doesn't say you can do that. He says this. We're called to be Neil, big fat of encouragement. If I'm going to be of the same mind as God, if I'm going to be of that same idea as him, as he asked me to be in Scripture with encouragement, and he says that I'm the God of it, that means that as Christians, we are not someone who can give it or someone who needs it, but we are called to be people of it. Attach encouragement to my name. In fact, people should think of us and think of an encouraging person. I want to talk about the power that encouragement has inside of it. Remember that. Remember that right now, that God calls us to be Neil of encouragement, or whatever your name is. I want to talk about the power of encouragement. Sandy Zolman told me about a lady named Caroline Leaf, and Mark DuPont actually gave me one of her books. Book is called Who Turned Off My Mind? Some of you guys are excited that I'm reading that because it's about time I turn it back on. It has been such an amazing book. I encourage you guys to read it if you're looking for a book. But Caroline Leaf does a study. She's a neuroscientist, and she studies the mind and the brain. Let me tell you the difference. The brain is the gray matter between your ears. It has weight to it. You can take pictures with an MRI. You can do surgery on it. It's clear. It knows. We know exactly what it does. It causes things to go on in my body. I have not thought about breathing once since I got in here. Have any of you thought about that? Maybe you thought about not snoring, but we're talking about breathing. Okay? It causes me to do normal functions to release chemicals into my brains, but my mind is completely different. My mind is more like my spirit than my brain. My mind is my intellect. My mind shows me how to think. It tells me that 2 + 2 is 4 and that God loves me. My mind is something completely outside of my brain. But what she found through her study is that the brain is absolutely subservient to the mind. Most of you guys didn't know this. I didn't know this at all. That actually what I think inside my mind, it changes the cell structures inside of my brain. What I believe about myself takes physical form. What I believe can cause brain damage. It can be watched on our brain. When we think about thoughts, we're like, oh yeah, you like different areas of your brain light up when you think certain ways. No. I'm not talking about things lighting up. I'm taking physical form changes. And that's interesting enough. But what she did is she focused on what kind of thoughts change your brain. She put them into 2 different categories. Thoughts on fear and thoughts on faith. Toxic thoughts, positive thoughts. So We're going to look at the thoughts on fear. This is what she found out, that when you believe about things on fear, aggression, anger, anxiety, those type of idea, that I'm worthless, that I'm no good, loneliness, when you believe things in your mind, what happens in your brain is brain damage physically starts to take place. You can watch the cells of your memory cells actually start to deform. In fact, she said that when people live an entire life out of these toxic thoughts, physical holes start showing up inside of their brain. Now, wait, let me also tell you this. It's not just your brain, because your brain produces chemicals. When you believe in these toxic thoughts, your brain puts chemicals inside your body that actually cause illness and ailments. And they say, this is not just her, they say that most of our illnesses are more due to what we believe about ourselves than the diets that we eat. So you guys don't have to be on gluten anymore. You're totally fine. Eat as much gluten as you want, okay? Even so, the American Institute of Stress, a non-Christian company, they don't have anything, a point to be made. They say that 70 to 90% of the doctor visits that you go to are due to what your mind is telling you. It's powerful because let's talk about the faith. The things of faith, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, the feelings that God loves me, the feelings of being worth something. Those are the faith thoughts. And when our mind, remember that intellect, when that mind believes things that are good, it has an effect on the brain. It's the exact opposite of what fear is. It starts building up the memory cells of your brain. In fact, you're able to put memories together a lot faster. It actually extends your intellect. You can think and reason better. It goes far beyond your brain, though. It produces chemicals inside your body that, what would you know it, actually keep you healthy longer. That's what happens when we believe the right things inside of our mind. Now, here's a question. How do we believe those right things inside of our mind? Someone encourages us in those things. You know, we read the Bible, we hear from the Lord, but man, when someone encourages us in those things, that's when you really start to believe those things. It takes someone that says, I want to be Neil of encouragement, and I want to jump in the power of encouragement, and I want to stand in the place of my friends and my family and my coworkers, and I want to speak life, literally life, into their brains and into their bodies. It takes someone to stand up and say, I want to use that type of power that God told me to. I want to further talk about this with something that hospice told me. I want to briefly, real quick, maybe some of you guys don't know, it's been 2 years from what happened with my son, but my wife's uterus ruptured, and my son went too long with limited oxygen going to his brain, and he experienced severe brain damage. And we were in the hospital, and our nurses all told us, we're really sorry, your son's going to die. Our doctor said, I'm sorry, there's no way that he's going to make this. There's nothing we can do. He is going to die. We had one of the best pediatric neurosurgeons in the country. She works at Children's Hospital. That's her hospital. She sat us down. We were in a conference room, and she says, your son is not going to make it. If by some miracle he makes it, if by a miracle he makes it, he will be a quadriplegic for the rest of his life. Likely, his brain would have so much damage that he will not be able to see and hear. That's what you're looking at, if a miracle happens. So they sent us home on hospice. Can I tell you something what happened when we got him home on hospice? He stopped dying. He stopped dying, and he started living. And within 6 months, we took him off of hospice. Hospice is end-of-life care. We took him off of hospice and moved him on to home care. And this is what our nurse said, our hospice nurse. She said, none of us are surprised that your son is living and not dying. I'm like, well, our nurses said he was going to die. Our doctors and the neurosurgeon, who are you, right? She's like, none of us are surprised that he's living, because we've seen how much you love him. We watch how you guys hold him in your arms and walk him around the house as you're doing all of your normal house things. As when you guys eat dinner, even though he can't eat dinner with you, you stick him in the chair right by you to eat dinner with the family because he's part of the family. We watch how all of your boys love him and touch him and feel him and talk to him, and it's not a surprise that your boy's living. Isn't that amazing? Did she say that? Because what we give other people literally breathes life into them. The encouragement and the love that my son got did something. Now, I'm not taking away God's miracles over my son's life. I believe there's so much more that went on. God's hand so much more than Heather and I and our encouragement. But God calls me to be an encourager, and I believe that part of his miracle came by the obedience of Heather and I inside of his life. Are you willing to be an encourager to people around you? Because it literally, you speak life into their bodies. Now, the cool thing is that it goes far beyond, encouragement goes far beyond physical changes and brain power. It works into all areas of our life. When someone's struggling and they need to do something and they're trying but they're failing, do they need a kick in the butt or do they need someone to encourage them? Depends on the person, maybe. More often, they need an encouraging word of someone around them that's willing to say, I'm going to speak life into that person. And when that happens, it's so incredible to watch what happens when that life starts to take place in their life. What about when you're looking at someone, there's a challenge ahead of them, and you can see that they can make it through, but you got to pull that potential out of them. Do you do that by criticizing them for what they did wrong, or do you do that by encouraging them that they can make it? You encourage because encouragement has great power with it. When you're teaching your kid to walk and he's 9 months old, you say, come on, dummy, you should be walking by now. That's not what we do. What do? We do something really weird. We get on our hands and knees. We're like, come here, little buddy. And we start talking like a little kid and making all these weird noises. Why? Because we're encouraging him to come to me. That's what encouragement does. There's so much power that's released when we walk in encouragement. Being a person of encouragement can be tricky, though, because if you're going to be a person of encouragement, it means this, that you have to stop looking at yourself. Isn't that true? If I'm going to be a person of encouragement, I have to do something tricky. I have to stop looking at me, myself, and I have to stop looking at Neil, and I have to start looking at everybody else around me. Something cool happens, too, though. When you start encouraging other people and using the power of that gift to breathe life into other people's life, guess what happens to you? You become encouraged. That's how it happens. God says, I am the God of encouragement. If you obey me, watch my encouragement release inside your life. Watch other people. I had to say this. You know what the most powerful thing that a husband can do with his wife or a wife can do with his husband? One of the most powerful things they can do, encourage each other. You want to have a strong marriage? Encourage each other. If things are getting a little bit tough, write a list of all the good things about your spouse. Encourage them in one of them for each one next week. Tell you what, that's powerful. Maybe you're a parent. Tell you one of the most powerful things that you can do is encourage your kids. You know, if all we do is you have to discipline kids. I'm not saying you don't have to. But if all we did was discipline them for their bad things, you guys, they're going to grow up being afraid to do something bad. But if we encourage them, they're going to love good things. There's a difference, isn't there? There's a big difference. Maybe you're a boss. You know the best way to breathe life into your employees, to get them to be more productive, is to encourage them. If a boss comes to me and says, hey, I want your productivity to go up 15% or you're fired, I'm like evaluating, like, what other jobs could I get, right? Mark, just remember that. Dave. I'm like, what else can... That's what comes inside of me. But if my boss comes up to me and says, hey, you're doing a really good job. I've watched you. You've got a lot of potential. And I want to ask you, I need to get 15% more out of all this stuff. Can you be on my team? I'm like, I'll do 20. That's how it works. Because encouragement is powerful. Look I tell you, if you encourage like your brother or sister, you matter a lot. And that encouragement goes far. I want to talk about 4 things encouragement does. I'm not talking about what it does to us. We're over talking about us. I want to talk about what happens, 4 things that happen when we decide to encourage other people, what happens in their lives. First thing I want to talk about is 4 things encouragement does. Number 1 is it helps others persevere. Let's read Galatians 6:1. Brethren, we got that up there? Galatians 6:1. Brethren, even if anyone is caught in any trespasses, you are spiritual, restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, each one looking to yourself so that you too will not be tempted. Listen, when people are going through hard things, when it feels like everything's upon them, oh man, what a powerful word, a word of encouragement goes, and it helps them persevere. Can I get really nerdy with you guys real quick? Go ahead. I love Lord of the Rings. Anybody like Lord of the Rings in here? Yes. Okay. I'm going to use some names that you guys are going to know. Guy named Frodo Baggins. I'm really bringing out my nerd right now. I know their first names and last names. Frodo Baggins. He's got a ring, powerful ring. The whole entire series is that he's got to get that ring to Mount Doom, to throw it into the fires of Mount Doom. And he's got an entire group of people to help him. And these are some pretty crazy guys. I mean, they are soldiers. They're amazing. And I think, listen, at the very end of the entire series, once they get the ring in, I remember one part that strikes me. It's who Frodo Baggins said was the most important part of his team. He looks at one by and he says, I could not have done this without you. Was it Legolas and his archer skills? No, I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. Was it Strider or Boromir with their sword skills? No, was it Gandalf with like his magic stuff? No, it wasn't. It was, who was it? Samwise Gamgee. Samwise Gamgee. Why? Because he was good with weapons, he could protect it? No, because he was Frodo's biggest encouragement. Because he is what caused Frodo to go farther than Frodo was able to. He was what caused Frodo to persevere. And in the very end, he was the one that picked up Frodo and said, I'll be with you the whole way. Threw him on his shoulders and walked. Come on, somebody. That's what happens when we encourage other people. Sometimes, we feel the pain of work or school. We feel like we may be failing our bosses or our classes or our family. Something big has happened, maybe a breakup, something within the family. Maybe you lost your job, and the idea and the road that you want to travel on just seems like it's unable to bear. But how often in one of those circumstances has a boss or a pastor or a friend or a family member came in there, said one encouraging thing to you, and all of a sudden you stood right up and said, I can keep going with this. There's power in encouragement, and God calls us to be people of it. Let's look at the second part. Second thing I want to look at encouragement does is that it gives strength. It gives strength to others around us. Let's read 2 verses, Romans 15, 1 through 2. It says, now we who are strong ought to bear the weakness. Who are the strong people? Us, right here, it's all of us, ought to bear the weakness of those without strength and not just pleasing ourselves. Each of us is to please his neighbor for his good to his edification. Let's look at 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage up one another and what? Build up one another just as you're also doing. I love that idea of build up because that is very specific. When you build something, you create something, but when you build something up, what are you doing? Adding strength to it. You add strength, and that is what we do to other people around us. We physically add strength to their lives so that when the storms come on, they're stronger and they don't fall down as easy. We add strength to their talents, and we add strength to their abilities. We add strength to what they believe they can do. You know what encouragement actually means? Encouragement means to impart courage, to take someone and put courage within them. And that's what we get to do. We add strength to what they believe that they can do. We impart courage. We'll watch their weaknesses turn to strengths, and we watch their doubts turn to hope, all because someone was willing to say, God, I'm going to be of the same mind as you, and I'm going to be a person of encouragement. Who have you strengthened today? Who'd you strengthen yesterday? That's a good question. Let's move to the third thing. The third thing is that encouragement does is it gives a sense of vision and victory. It's actually a sense of vision for victory, if you're taking notes. It gives a sense of vision for victory. When you guys are on a diet, when you've been on a diet, they last like a week because you're over it, right? You're on a diet, and you've been on it, you're excited to get on it first, and now you realize what a diet is, and now you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But then that one person says, hey, are you losing weight? And you're like, good for 2 more weeks on that diet. You're like, yes, I am. I'm on a diet. I'm going to keep it. They gave you a sense of victory for what you are accomplishing. What about when you work out? After a while, you're like, I don't want to wake up at 5 in the morning. I don't want to be at the gym at 6 o'clock. I'm done with it. I don't see what I want to. And then you're like, I'm just done. And someone comes up to you and they grab your arm. They're like, whoa, getting big. You're like, yeah. And you're at the gym at 4 the next morning. That's really how it works, isn't it? It gives us a sense of victory. When we encourage other people, we take them off a hard path and we say, remember that victory that you want? It's right there. You can see it. I met with the guy for a long time. He was struggling with alcohol addiction. And he was losing his wife and he was losing his kids. And we met regularly for a long time. And he said something that has stuck with me. This was a long time ago. He said this. He said, Neil, when I'm with you, I've already won the battle. So when I'm with you, I don't think about drinking. I already know I can beat it. It's 2 days later. What gave him the idea to be able to beat it? It's the encouragement that I would be able to give him when he met. We had to set up a rule that whenever he started feeling a lot of pressure to go and drink and subside all his issues, he would call me and I would encourage him over the phone, because encouragement gives people the vision for victory. And let me say something too. Where there is no encouragement, there automatically is discouragement. I'll say that over here now because that was a really good one. I should have put a PowerPoint out. Where there is no encouragement, there is automatically discouragement. Let's look at the last one. Point number 4. This is my favorite one too. What encouragement does, it draws out potential inside of other people. Encouragement takes the potential inside of other people and it pulls it out. My dad has a quote that I think about all the time. Let's get his quote up there. It says, the things that I am the most encouraged in are the things that I become the best in. Think about that. The things that we are encouraged in are the things that we become the best in. He's got a file of letters of encouragement that you guys have written him, and he's filed them away because those are the things that make him great at things. You can look at different areas around people around you. The more you encourage them, you're going to watch, you're pulling potential out of them. The more you encourage your spouse, the more you pull potential out of your spouse. Heather encourages me all the time. Right now, she's my biggest encouragement. I never showed you guys the video, did I? Darn it. All right, my dad said it's not too late. I can't believe I did that. I rushed right over it. Okay, we're going to get back to pulling potential out, okay? Remember what I told you about what our hospice nurse said? I went through that, didn't I? This is our third service. Okay, good. I want to do something. I want to show you guys a video. I want to show you a video of my quadriplegic son who should be dead, who definitely cannot recognize any, but cannot recognize anybody or any of that other stuff that they told us. I want to show you this video for two reasons. One, I want to show you what God does when miracles happen. And I want you, number two, to listen to my wife. Listen to the words that she says. Tell me, is she an encourager or is she a bah humbug? All right, let's show that video.
Right, and can you vroom, vroom, vroom your car? Vroom, vroom, vroom. Good job vrooming. And now can you bang, bang, bang? Can you bang, bang, bang? Bang, bang, bang. Good job, little sweetie. Oh, good bang, bang, banging. Good banging. Can I have it back? Can I have it back? Now, right, and can you bang, bang, bang your car? Can you bang, bang, bang? Can you bang, bang? That's vroom, vroom. Can you bang, bang? Can you? Yeah, bang, bang, bang. Good banging. Right, and where's the light? Where's the light? That's right up there, right? And can you say no, 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 no? Can you say no, 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 no? Good job, right? And where's mommy's drink? Where's mommy's drink? Over there. That's right. And where's your door? Over there. Very.
Come on. Listen, that's the power of the God that we serve. That was not what any doctor or professional said could even happen. But did you guys hear my wife? Did you hear how encouraging she was to my son? Can I tell you, I promise that I believe that God has used that encouraging mouth over there, that encouraging words that she's given to bring some of the miracles about in my son. And that's what we get to be for other people. She drew potential out of my son. I gave the Mark Hoffman quote. Oh, yeah. Let's put our next quote up. Oh, by the way, we're back to pulls potential out of us. That's what encouragement does. This is by Winnie the Pooh. My dad's quote, then Winnie the Pooh's quote. That's what I have right here. You've made it, Mark. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. And you've got us to come in there, encourage you, and pull the potential out of you. Isn't that great? Encouragement has great power with it if you and I are willing to be a part of it. I don't know if you're a surfer in here, but one thing as surfers I know that we all do, and when you're about to drop into a big wave and it's a hairy drop, and it's very sketchy, and the bottom is dropping out of it, and there's maybe exposed reef or something, and you're like, I'm not going. If you hear somebody, doesn't even have to be one of your friends, just some dude yell from the shoulder of the wave, go, 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 you go. You do it. It pulls something out of us. All of a sudden, you surf beyond your potential, drop into the craziest areas. And I will tell you this, when you make those areas and you take off that deep, those are always the best ways of your session. You come out screaming at the other end. Because it pulls out potential inside of us. Let's have the band up right now. In the beginning, I said, I am not supposed to be Neil who needs encouragement, neither are you. We're not supposed to be Neil, fill in your name, who can give it. It's very clear. If you want to be of the same mind, then you have a choice today to become Neil or your name of encouragement. And it takes a big change inside of other people. If someone will encourage us in something, we try harder. Why don't we encourage someone else in something and let them try harder? Why don't we jump into what God has attached his name to, and why don't we attach our names to it? You know, when you start encouraging people, there's a chain reaction, because when someone feels encouraged, what do? They become encouraging. I love one thing. Well, let's go ahead and stand up right now. I love something that God does. You know, remember about the feeding of the 5,000? He does this with everything. He takes a few loaves of bread, a few fish, and he does a miracle for thousands of people. It's something small that God can use, but he does great things with it. And I'll tell you this morning right now. I said in the very beginning, encouragement is not something that none of us have heard of. Encouragement is not something that was new to any of us, but I believe it's the most powerful thing, one of the most powerful things that we as Christians hold inside of us. It has the power to change physical aspects, spiritual aspects. It takes people like Teddy and gives them a future and a hope that they didn't have before. But it only comes when Christians, when us inside of here, are willing to take the power of encouragement and use it.